Hello everyone, welcome back once again with a new video. In this video we will learn Python functions. Let's see what we will cover in this session. We will cover what is a function, how we will create a function, calling a function, arguments or parameters, arbitrary arguments, passing list as arguments and some other stuff related to Python functions. Let's start. First of all, what is a Python function? A function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. That means the function will only work or execute the code within it when it is called. You can pass data, which is known as parameters, into a function. Also, a function can return data as a result. We will see later in the video. So let's start with some explanation. For a function, first we need to define a function. Look here, there is a definition for the function, that is a block of code you are seeing on the screen. We define the code within a function with a def keyword and give a name to this piece of code that is known as function name. You can call this function with its name whenever it is required in your program. To call this, you need the name of the function followed by the brackets. When this call is encountered, this calls the function name. On calling this function name in our program, this piece of code executes. Sometimes it returns some value, whatever is defined inside this piece of code, or we can say inside this function. This call is responded and function accordingly, and this piece of code is executed whenever the call is encountered for this function. It also returns the value. Let us start with how to create a function. We can create a function with def keyword. It is a reserved word. Let us take an example. This is an example where I have taken the def keyword. After this, I have given the name of my function showing in the green, which is followed by opening and closing bracket and then after a colon. This is the way in which you can define a function. Pressing the enter after it will take you inside the function where you can put your code which will be executed when your function will be called. Here I have just put a print statement with hello from a function as a text. So let us write the code for this. This is the editor which you are familiar with if you have gone through my previous videos. So start with the def keyword, which is followed by the function name. I am giving the name same as the example, my function, these opening and closing braces, and putting a colon after it. Pressing enter and we are inside this function named my function. I am writing the print statement here. I have written this simple print statement. To exit from this definition, just hit enter twice. It will exit from the function definition. Now we will look how to call a function. To call a function, first we need to define a function as we just did, and to call it, just write the name followed by these braces and pressing enter will call the function. Let us see, I have already defined the function. Now the time to call this function. I am calling this function by the function name, that is my function, and these braces. When I will press enter, the function will execute the code inside it. I am pressing enter here and you can see the code hello from my function is displaying here. as a result of calling function. Till now we have created the function and we have learned how to call a function. Functions can also have arguments. An argument is the information which can be passed into a function, or you can say the information can be passed into functions as arguments or function arguments. For example, here I have taken a function with the similar name my function, and within braces I have written fname. This fname is the function argument which you will pass on calling the function. Here I have taken the print statement within this function. Inside this print statement I have taken the fname, which is the argument passed to the function, and concatenate it with a string and close this print statement. While calling this function, I have called this function with 3 different arguments: Emily, Todd and Lucy. Let's write the code. You can see on my screen I have opened the editor. At prompt I have written the def. I have written the function name which I am going to define. Inside it I am passing the argument fname, pressing enter, writing print statement fname using plus operator for concatenation and the string reference. And now that I have defined this function same as in our example, and I am pressing enter twice to exit from this definition, now we will call this function with 3 different arguments. As I am using the interactive mode, I will run these functions one by one. While calling this function with the argument which is fname, it should add with the string in our print statement. Before pressing enter, one thing to note here is that the name of our function should be same as we have defined inside our function definition. Now I am pressing enter. You can see this has concatenated these 2 pieces within print statement inside this function definition inside my function. But this Emily, which is a string, I have passed when I called this function. Let us call this function once again with different argument. You can see this time I have written, or you can say passed, the string Krish for this argument fname inside this function, and this printed the concatenation of Krish and reference. Similarly, you can call it any number of times with this fname argument passed while calling this function. Let's take one more example. I am taking Rajat as the argument while calling this function, pressing enter. It is resulting with the passing argument concatenated with the string reference.